You've had a pretty fun month with Met Gala and then Cannes. That's
Oh yeah.
wild.
Oh yeah. I've had a crazy year. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been nonstop traveling. I mean, the show and with the press of the show and HBO Max launching in all these foreign territories. We went to Australia, I went to Asia and Bangkok, went to Europe and Spain and Germany, London, went to throughout the US and New York and LA and Hawaii. It was like, been all over.
Yeah. You've had a lot of fun with the response to the show, especially in meme form. And I loved being a part of that. That was pretty fun. Uh Even with the White Lotus as such a pop culture moment, did you think at the time that especially episodes 5 and 6 were going to blow up the way they did?
You know what? I had a Yeah, I mean, I kind of knew that the whole scene on the boat and the brother stuff was going to be like kind of a moment, you know? I didn't know if it was going to be a good moment or a bad moment or what was going to happen. So I was kind of expecting something from that. What I was not expecting was kind of the response in the beginning of the show to Saxon from episode one of like how much people did not, I mean, they loved to hate him, you know? So I mean, I knew that there was going to be a little bit of uproar about me walking around naked and going to the bedroom and stuff like that, and some of the dialogue that Saxon says. But the most surprising to me was the response at the end of how much people came around to love him and to root for him and root for him and Chelsea together. And I guess that was probably the most surprising thing to me, and the thing that I did not expect really at all. Like the scene at the end in episode 8 when I'm turning over my shoulder to look for at Amy and stuff, like I never thought doing that would become a meme or all over the internet, stuff like that, and people
Yeah.
loving that moment. So I guess you just never really know, but
Yeah, and Mike White really likes to play with archetypes on the show, and Saxon is certainly in the vein of like Cameron or Shane.
yeah.
What did you want to do differently to set yourself apart from those characters and have your version?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I think that being part of this show, it's incredible. It's also there's aspects that are daunting, I mean, being part of a show that's been so successful for 2 seasons, and you do the third one and you're like, how do you live up to the first season? How do you live up to the second season? And then you're like, I'm like the third douche bro, it's like, how do I live up to those, to Shane and to Jake Lacey and to Theo James and stuff. And I think how you do it is you start with what Mike gives you. And, Mike is the one that's so brilliantly tweaks these characters and writes them in such a unique way that you get to just really utilize what the material is and utilize what you're given to make it different. And, Mike wanted Saxon to be, unfiltered, over the top, hilarious, just this guy that said things that people would never say, but that could be truthful sometimes, but also just ridiculous and funny. And then he wanted some moments where you kind of thought, like, is something up with this guy? He's a little bit creepy. He's a little weird. Like, could he end up being the killer? Was he going to be the one that gets killed? And, so he wanted all these different little kind of moments to showcase Saxon as being this unique, oddball, fun goofball, character. But yeah, it's always kind of tough when you're getting compared, I guess, to those other people in the past. But they did it so brilliantly. I just tried to do what I could do with Saxon and with what Mike gave me, and try not to compare the characters too much.
Yeah, and I think Saxon probably doesn't see himself like that type of douche bro. He's trying to make a name for himself
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
family business. He's trying to venture into a possible romantic relationship,
Yeah.
doesn't realize how he comes across. And has growth through the entire season.
Well, that's the psychological part that you learn is like these people never do think that, and they really don't have a regard for how they're perceived from other people, you know. And that's part of the power trip and power dynamic with Saxon is like he honestly doesn't care, and it's like
Mhm.
you know even when he says stuff and his sister's like, ew, what are you saying, whatever, he's like, what are you talking about? Like, this is normal. I'm normal, you're the weird one. You
Mhm.
know, like that's always in his mind is like he's the one that's, he's got a job, he's got life figured out, he's the one having sex, he's the one that works out, he's the one that's, he in his mind he's doing everything right in life.
Yes.
And his brother is on the verge of being this hunched over scrawny kid, and he's got to help him. His sister's on the verge of going to find herself in Buddhism and whatever the heck that means and all this, and he's got to go and help her. So he's like, he feels like his way or the highway. And that's kind of the psychological effect of what someone like him has. And it's
Yeah.
fun to play with that.
Well, oh, for sure.
Yeah.
How did you and Sam talk about your scenes and the dynamic of Saxon and Lachlan's relationship? Not just in, those episodes, but everything built around them.
Yeah, we talked and we worked on it a lot. I mean, Sam was one of the first people I talked to once we both booked the job of just like, let's figure out this dynamic, man. Like, I have a little brother, so I know what it's like to be the older brother and that kind of a relationship. But this is obviously completely different. But it's important to find little things that showcase what a family dynamic is like. And Mike really wanted that, and that's kind of like from my real life of just seeing how siblings are and stuff. It was fun to kind of pull those different things from the hitting with the book in the head and kind of just like that kind of thing, or me giving them kind of wet willies and tickling them, weird things like that. And Mike also wanted it to come off as something is odd with the siblings. That's why in
Mhm.
episode 1, like the tickling part, he made a point of that. Like it was such a weird thing for me to go and tickle my sister. And then with me talking with my brother, saying how my sister's hot, but she never upset. It's just such a weird the whole thing is so odd. But anyways, yeah. So Sam and I, the way that we really formed our relationship was by creating the relationship, by hanging out with each other nonstop. I mean, we were with each other every day, all day for 7 months. We
Yeah.
had breakfast, we had lunch, we had dinner together, we did stuff as a family together. And then it was also about building the backstory. What was our lives like before we got to the White Lotus? What was our family dynamic like? What was our relationships like? What was it like? Am I still living in the house even though I've been done with school? Am I out of the house now? What is, how long has he been? What are his aspirations? All these different things, just to help create all the kind of backstory with it. But in the end of the day, Saxon really does care about his siblings, and he does love his little brother, and he just has a vulnerability level and emotional ceiling that's so low that he doesn't know how to articulate what he wants for his brother in an appropriate way. But yeah.
You come from a pair of very different, almost mythical families. How did you want to navigate the conversation that people were going to have about that before the show, and how has it been since the show?
Wait, what do you mean in as a character or as Patrick?
Just as a performer, and just coming from these two families that have so much uh, American history.
Okay, so you're talking about Patrick, right?
Yes,
Okay, okay. Sorry, I didn't know if you were talking about Saxon's parents.
yes.
Um, okay, sorry. So
Sorry.
the question being, what is it like? Sorry, can you say it again?
I'm just curious if you had to navigate conversations before versus after, just about you being a performer and being on a show like this. You have a fantastic acting history already, but
Right.
was there something about this that was hitting a different level?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that there's always some sort of conversation around, your family's name and you being in the same industry as your family, and or specifically my dad, I guess, and this idea of the nepotism, and there's valid conversations around all of it, and I think that yeah, a show like this is a little bit different because it's so widely known and watched,
Yeah.
that it puts, I appreciate your comment saying that I've had an acting history for the past whatever years and I've had other work, but at the same time, for a lot of people, they've never seen my work, which is totally fine and normal because this was their first time seeing it because, when you have, I don't know how many people are watching this show, 25 million or something like that
Yeah.
versus, Gen V, which is also a big show, but it's way smaller of a fraction, or The Staircase or American Sports Story, or, what,
Scream Queens.
yeah, you know, those things are all a fraction of what this show
Yeah.
is. So for majority of people, it was their first time seeing me, and so the conversation, of course, is going to come with that. And yeah, I think that it'll continue to happen and continue to come. And what I can try to do is just continue to really focus on my work and do the best that I can, and hopefully people really enjoy my work and the characters that I build, and ultimately I'm trying to entertain people
Yeah.
and bring them emotions and laughter and crying or whatever the character might be involved with. But with this was really just trying to show people a great time and put on this hilarious over the top character that ended up having a nice arc and turn towards the end. And
Yeah.
I think the beautiful part about this show, and for me, is I get to work with such amazing, incredible actors and actresses and people like Mike, and they help lift me up. They help me look better. So I think that it's I think the reception has been really great at the end, by the end of the show, towards me and towards my character, and I'm very thankful for that. And I yeah, I don't know. I'm going on a long stretch, but yeah.
Yeah. You spend the majority of your time with your Ratliff family or with Chelsea and Chloe. What other cast members or characters would you have liked to have more scenes with?
Well, I wish I got to work more with Walton. I wish Sam Rockwell. I mean, I find him to be an incredible actor, and just to be able to be on screen with him and work opposite with him would have been really cool. Walton, I got to work with a couple days, but we hung out all the time while we were on set. Um, yeah, that's the weird part about the show is you kind of are like everyone's there and you're all living in this same hotel, but then sometimes you don't have any scenes with them.
Yeah.
Like the three ladies, I have episode one, we have the moment by the pool, and then I don't see them again really until that's it, or until the
Yeah.
end of the boat. So of course, I mean, I wish I got to work with everybody more often, but I really enjoyed my moments working um, with Amy Lou and with Charlotte LeBon, because it was such a fun dynamic between those two girls and me. And it was such a love-hate relationship, and it was just such a fun thing to work with. And um, yeah,
Yeah, and they're the ones that crack you open.
exactly. Yeah.
They get through Saxon in a way that nobody else has maybe even tried.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
What do you think? I have a couple of just offshoot questions. What do you think Saxon's letterbox top four would be?
I would say Saxon's letterbox top four would probably be like Euro Trip, Amer- American Pie, The Hangover, and I'm going to go with some sort of like action, like you know, Pain and Gain, or what's the one with Wahlberg and The Rock, or like,
Oh, yes.
or
Yeah,
or
yeah.
what's another good one that would be like some sort of,
I think he's got some like Fight Club Scarface energy for
maybe I'm wondering if Fight
two.
Club is too cinematic and beyond him. Like I wonder if he's more like maybe like just Transformers, or like I don't, you know. I'm trying to.
Maybe.
By the way, all good movies.
Yeah. What was the best thing that you ate in Thailand?
Oh, mango sticky rice is so good.
Yeah, it is.
It's so good. I love coconut. I love coconut everything. Coconut water, coconut meat, the coconut smoothies, the coconut sorbet. But they do that coconut kind of drizzle over the rice with the mango. It's so good.
Yeah. If you could be on any other HBO show, past or present, what would it be?
Past or present?
Yes.
Oh God, that's tough. I'd probably say Entourage.
Ah, all
I,
right.
I was a huge Entourage fan growing up. I mean, I guess more recent, I would say, maybe Succession is really fun and amazing, and Game of Thrones is really awesome, but those shoots are brutal. So I'm sure that's, I don't know. I mean, there's so many HBO shows that yeah, I would say one of those. And then if I were to say a current one, I'd probably do something limited, maybe
Hmm.
like maybe like a True Detective would be really cool, because I like the shows that it's fun for me to get to kind of go and play a character and then go on to the next, so
Yeah.
with Gen V and the boys, and with the staircase, and with this and stuff, it's all been limited or anthology, and so
Hmm.
it's fun to get to bounce into different universes for a season.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Um, you've been very vocal online that you want to play Patrick Bateman in Luca Guadagnino's adaptation of American Psycho. What if we did an audition right now?
You're
I
good.
I can feed you a couple lines
I
and you
said
can
what I said was I'd love to, which is true. Look, I don't want to say I'm, campaigning, petitioning, whatever.
no, no.
I think Luca is an extremely talented director, and I love what he's done for a bunch of great young up and coming actors. I think that he's been a vehicle to bring out amazing performances and deliver really great material. And this was said that it was going to be one of his next things. I just said I'd love to, which is true, and I'd love to work with. There's plenty of directors that I'd love to work with, but whether it was this or another project, I'd love to work with
Mhm.
him. I think I look up to him and respect his work a lot, and I respect the actors that he's worked with a lot. And yeah, that's what I would say.
I think like Mike White, he would probably be able to utilize your strengths in a way that would be ideal for that.
For that or for anything, I'd love
Yeah,
to work with him on anything. So
exactly.
yeah.
What as we close, what do you think that you were able to gain the most about yourself with Saxon and any type of growth that you had as a person?
As an actor, or just as Patrick growing from this experience, or
Yeah, as that.
as Patrick? I mean, I feel like I, I've grown tremendously from this. I mean, I've gotten, I think I've learned a lot of new perspectives about, the act, just about acting, and getting to learn from other, um, cast members on the set, to really, I would say, kind of once the show came out and was a huge success, a reminder of what was like really important to me in life, and remembering and finding ways to focus on, um, that even though some things around me, with this show propelling me have changed, that I really have to make sure that the core values and foundation that have been with me before are what's still important to me. My faith and my family and my fiance and my friends. Um, and just learning that I would say that things come and go. You know, they just to continue to work hard and keep your kind of your head down and keep going. But there's, you know, new projects come and, you know, go, and there's a new thing that's the big hit now, and just to really enjoy the ride, because it's doesn't always stick around.
Yeah. Well, I'm really thrilled for your success with the show, and
Yeah, I appreciate it.
it's been great to be able to meet and talk with you today.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it too.
All right. Thanks so much, Patrick.
Awesome. See ya.
Bye.